Main, they stopped at the plaza, took a knee. They spent about 45 minutes there. There's probably 400 or 500 people. Then they marched back down Main Street and were supposed to stop at Falls Park. They didn't, so we let them continue on, and they continued to march down South Main and took a turn. And that was, I guess, the first. If there was one incident, that was the first one. There was an agitator that ran in. It was a white male that came out of nowhere and wanted to start trouble. Obviously, there was a large group of African Americans, and he was saying some pretty disgusting things. And we saw that happen. We knew it happened. We were trying to escort people and keep them safe and keep traffic off of them. So once we got over there and got him detained, and it created a little bit of havoc, people started to spread out. So we got them back on Main Street. Again, they came up Main. We eventually talked to some of the coordinators and told them, look, it's time's drawing nigh. It's time to wrap this up. We've had downtown closed and businesses have closed, and you've got the protest. Everybody's been peaceful. It's time to shut it down. So that didn't happen. We had a group of about 50 that were.
So I did see another group break off.
They did.
And they took another lap. And there was another group that stayed behind.
That's correct.
So
we don't know. We thought they were going home. Again, the younger part of that group stayed. They set up 2 intersections up and made a circle. So we had to stop traffic. They sat down there for about 45 minutes. Again, you're trying to navigate a main thoroughfare and trying to keep them safe. So we let that go on, and we waited for them to get up and leave. And they did. They got up and left and started heading south, and we followed behind them, again, trying to make a safe path for them down at Falls Park. As they got here, actually, they formed a little bit of a barricade there and decided they were going to turn around and come back up Main. We had already released traffic, and it just was not a safe objective at all for them. So we tried to talk to them, and we talked to some of the event planners. And they tried to talk to this group and tell them, let's just move south. We're still marching. Let's just move. And most of that group left, but they probably left about 30 people. Again, I don't believe they was part of that group. I think they were outsiders. And real defiant, lay down in the road, all that started. So at that point, they really gave us no choice but to get our field force team out here. Greenville City's field force team. Me and Chief Thompson worked together. We put them in place, obviously hoping that they'll comply when they see this show of people, these show of officers. And some of them did tend to move a little bit, but there were some people on the front line that y'all probably have some video of that it was getting pretty ugly, and so we warned them and warned them and warned them. We put our gas mask on so they would think we was deploying gas to try to scare them into moving. We did deploy some smoke down there, and some of them moved, and then it just came to a point where some of them made a decision. They just wanted to be arrested. They were going to force our hand. So we continued to move down the street, and we got down to, we deployed some gas right about City Hall, and then we got down to the Peace Center, and they had spread out and began to move around. And this whole time the second group had left and kind of came around and almost tried to flank us. So we had to send another field force team on that side to keep them from coming back and joining together. We felt like we could deal with 2 smaller groups a lot better than we could one large one. So fortunately for us in the city, having so many officers out here and just being prepared for something to happen, nobody was injured. We did arrest, I think, about 8 people total. Again, I'm not even certain they're from Greenville, to be quite honest. And I say that to mean they're from outlying areas. I don't mean they came from a different state or anything like that. But again, that's not what this protest was designed for. That's not why they initiated the protest. It was extremely peaceful. Myself and Chief Thompson even at one point got down in the crowd. Yeah. Well, when it started, we were marching with them, not to get in their way or diminish what they were doing. We had talked to everybody, and we were coming up the street, and the protest started. So it wasn't trying to get in their way at all. But we did have some good conversations with people. So.
Dr. Thomas and Tracy Fant, they disavowed the agitators. They did it live on air tonight with us.
I'm sure they did. We weren't watching much of that tonight.
I guess talk about the importance of the relationship with you guys.
Well,
to pull something off like this.
You hit a key word, relationships. If we don't develop relationships with our community, and I talked to Dr. Thompson, I've talked to Ms. Fant, I've talked to Bruce Wilson, I talked to Derek Quarles last night, I talked to Jack Logan. And we need area pastors, I think, this is my opinion, and I hadn't had an in-depth conversation with anybody yet, but I do think if we take our activists and we agree to sit down and talk about issues that concern the community, because people will tell them things they may not tell the sheriff or the chief, whatever experience they have with law enforcement, and not all experience with law enforcement is going to be a good one. We wish it was, but it's not. So people are going to complain, and people, are going to have a certain feeling about it, but let's at least open that line of communication. So both of these have reached out to me, both folks, and as well as Bruce Wilson and Derek Quarles and Jack Logan. So to start a base there and really work toward at least coming together and saying, okay, what's the issues? Because I need your help getting that out to the community. I need your help working with people. Because people will listen to them and trust them. They've developed relationships with that I hadn't yet. But I ran on that promise. I'm serious. When I tell you something, I mean it. So again, I think if we can take small steps to move forward, and because we don't know, we've never done this, but I think collectively we can learn to do it and really refine it, and I think we can set the standard for the nation, to be quite honest, to bring people together and talk. Let's have a protest. Let's state your mind. Get whatever's bothering you off your chest, but you can't tear up property. You can't disrupt commerce. I mean, these business owners down here have been locked down for 90 days with the coronavirus. They just reopened, and all of a sudden we have to shut everything down so you can protest. We're allowing you time to do it, but you got to follow the rules too if you expect us to follow. And the most concerning thing I think I've seen in 2 days is the problem has really been mostly our young people. If we don't get a handle on our young folks, they're the future. Long when we're all in nursing homes or pass away and go and see the Lord one day, we're going to leave this world. If it's here, we're going to leave it with them. And we got to do a better job of building that foundation. And we're behind the curve for sure, because these young people are already in their 20s and they've already made their mind up to be militant, to be disrespectful, to do what they want to do. There was just a lot of different emotions, a lot of different anger later on in the evening that occurred that was really unfortunate. We got down there with that group. We got to pray with them. We talked to them. And the group, for the most part, I don't think until I started speaking, Miss Fant, you were down there, when it really got ugly, there was 3 or 4 people that kind of, came after me a little bit. But the group as a whole, you're talking about 400 people that was extremely peaceful versus these 3 or 4 that were just defiant, again, just because I was law enforcement, and they were, I was trying to talk to them, trying to be part of the solution. And it's just those small groups, those little cells, if you will, that come inside to something and can really try to tear it apart and take away from the meaning of what really tried to happen tonight, or today even, and yesterday. And it's frustrating, So the only way to change it is talk to people. We're not going to change everybody's mind. We're not going to change the world overnight. But I promise you, we can make a difference. The Lord didn't put me here for no reason, and I'm telling you, I'm not perfect. I don't have all the answers, but I promise you, I prayed about situations like this, and I prayed about the situation about winning this election. If the Lord wants me in here, He'll put me in here. He put me here for a reason. I'm going to do my part. I promise you. If it kills me.
I want to circle back. You said 8 arrests. Was that 8 additional arrests?
From what?
From earlier today after the peaceful protest ended, or 8 arrests total today?
I'm pretty sure, because I was only here, I'm pretty sure it was 8 total.
8 total?
Yeah, we didn't really lock anybody up again. It was extremely peaceful. And you still got, some stragglers around here that are going to holler and shout. That's unfortunate. They don't realize nobody wants to be out here away from their family on the weekend dealing with problems. But their response is, hey, you're getting paid. I can't tell you how many times I heard that. Again, we're out here trying to be helpful. The protesters are trying to be helpful, and they're trying to present an issue and bring it nationwide. We don't have those issues here in Greenville. I'm not saying we don't have police complaints, because we have plenty. But the fact is, we don't have any. We can do choke holds and all that kind of stuff here. if we did, somebody would be fired and charged, just like they're doing in Minnesota. And I hadn't kept up with that for the past 2 days because we've been down here. But again, if you really want to be a change agent, then you got to decide how you're going to do it. And violence and anger, it's not what God wants.
That's right.
You talk about race, people talking about the color of my skin, and I can't remember the chant a couple of people were using. And one of them said, my blood's red too. You're absolutely right. Well, start acting like it. You know, don't punish law enforcement and accuse me of treating you a particular way just because you're African American. If you got that complaint against me personally, let me know. But because I represent the sheriff's office and they've had a bad experience with law enforcement, they were just some angry people. Miss Fant showed up right away. I know you weren't part of this protest at all. She showed up to try to be helpful and try to calm people down and make sure it was peaceful. But again, it was outside sources that got involved that really turned the tide, if you will, and raised the level of response from us. We had all those people standing by. We kept them out of sight so we didn't agitate anybody or make it look like we were here to arrest anybody. But we have to protect the citizens and the protesters who have one purpose, the right purpose. We have to protect them too. Again, the protesters we protected over by Greenville High School, these guys literally just came out of nowhere, shouting racial slurs, and it was I think a white male and a white female and another white male, and they're at the detention center. I don't know their names, but once we got them out of there, they were able to group everybody up and continue on. But it picked up steam when it came back from people who probably saw it on social media, and they met up down here, and then that number grew. So that's kind of the gist of it.
I want you to be a little bit more specific. You said you guys had to deploy gas. Did you guys deploy smoke? Did you guys use tear gas? Did you guys use smoke canisters? Like, how did you disperse the crowd?
We deploy smoke with a grenade launcher that we're standing back, so if you're 50 yards away, we can get it down there to where you are. Again, the smoke is to hopefully scare people, because they don't know what it is, and disperse the crowd. We were on a loudspeaker. I mean, it's midnight. This thing's been going on since 6. It's time to go, and you got to go in an orderly fashion. So that's what we were hoping for. The chemical agents we used were OC spray and CS gas.
And let me say, as I said before, Sheriff Hobart Lewis and Chief Thomason, Acting Chief Thomason, and the officers of this city have did a magnanimous job in containing everything, even to the point of marching with protesters today, both of the sheriff and Chief Thomason. I have nothing but praise for them and how they have handled themselves, even amidst when things got testy. The officers did not respond negatively. They rose to the occasion. And I think that is a testament to the leadership that we have currently in Greenville.
Well, I appreciate that.
I appreciate that.
We got some really quality men and women that are working,
absolutely,
that are dedicated to keeping this city safe.
Absolutely.
And I think even in Minnesota, Minneapolis, if you look at what happened, the actions of just a few, that's a very large agency, but the actions of just a few, and it's a horrific event. It's criminal for sure. Those officers up there are going to have to deal with that for a long time. It's happened all over the country.
Absolutely.
We don't want that here. We don't.
Not at all.
And that's why we try to work with people and try to be open-minded for sure, and allow people to protest and do things because that's their right to do it. But again, you got to follow the rules. The Constitution says you can do it, but the Constitution also says you have to obey the law. So when things get out of hand, it's time to step in, and we certainly used tonight. Me and Chief Thompson both agreed, absolutely the most minimal amount of force necessary, and that starts with just a show of force. I mean, that's part of it. When you stage up 100 officers out here and say, okay, it's time to move, that's a show of force. So now you've drawn a line in the sand, and you've got to hold your ground on our end. They're trying to hold their ground on their end, and it's up to me and the chief to negotiate. If you watch any footage from it, there's all kind of people reporting it, but we went down there on the very front line and tried to negotiate and say, okay, I'm telling you, you're not coming back up North Main. Right. Keep walking. Turn around and walk and chant, hold your signs, do whatever you got to do. the crowd that finally left, that was really part of the original crowd, did that. It's the ones who stayed behind, and again, I don't. They were young and belligerent, and it diminishes the whole purpose of why we got out here tonight. So that's unfortunate. It's disappointing. Last night we had an issue out on Woodruff Road. We probably had 300 or 400 young people that weren't at the protest yesterday. Had nothing to do with the protest, but they went to Target on Woodruff Road. They went to Kohl's on Woodruff Road. They went to Walmart. We had to literally shut down Woodruff Road and close the interstate to get them on the exit ramp to get them out of there. And they were popping off. We thought it was shooting. They shot rounds, but it wound up being fireworks. Fortunately. And it's, again, they're videoing that, and they pushed you to that point to have to force them to leave because it's a public safety issue. They're ready to fight each other, and we show up, and they're ready to fight us. So everybody gets the end of that when you're having have a show of force and show somebody something. Again, that, people see y'all filming, they want to shout, get their point out, whatever. But they're peaceful, I mean, it's a tension. They're trying to get their message out. So it was a mixed group for sure. Young, old, white, black, Hispanic. One guy was complaining about his immigration status, and he got right up in my face when we were down there. I don't even know who he is, but that was his issue. It was the fact that he's, I guess, is an illegal immigrant. It was the best I could gather, but that's why he was here. He's protesting the fact that he wants to live here, and he's been harassed by immigration in some way. I think he was shouting. He'd been in Atlanta or something. So everybody had an issue. They were down here to represent. The people that caused the problem really have no issue other than either getting on social media or getting on the news to do something. So they go out here and they ruin really a very peaceful protest. I promise you, at 4 o'clock, it was. There was nothing to it. They had a plan. They marched up here. They gathered. They took a knee. They had a moment of silence. It couldn't have been any better. Again, so it's midnight, and you know what I mean. It just, the streets are finally cleared up, but it was a lot of resources used to do it.
It's great, and I don't want to keep you too much longer.
Sure.
You have two well-respected community members right here to your left and your right. How appreciative are you for them?
I'm more appreciative for them than they probably are me, to be quite honest.
We appreciate you.
But I mean that because they don't know me yet, and we're all learning. I mean, we're in a learning curve. It's my first 90 days in office. I've had the coronavirus, so you can't have meetings with people. People are fearful of contact, getting this virus. So you can't really have those meetings. So we talked on the phone. We've done a Zoom. Again, I talked to several other community organizers or people who hold these events. But to have a face-to-face meeting, this is really the first time we've been able to talk, was this weekend, and it was during a protest face-to-face. So, again, small steps, we're moving forward. I think if the community understands law enforcement has nothing to hide, let's be transparent. You may not like it, you may not agree with it, we can all agree to disagree. But I'm telling you now, if we don't do something with our young folks, and if we don't develop some relationships, we're going to have serious problems. It's just beginning.